But I just knew this is not what I want to do. So I texted my boss from the beach and I said, I'm coming on Monday and I'm putting down my papers. The idea was that I'll get into a corporate job and I will earn my living there for till the time I'm 60. You know, sometimes we figure that whatever we have planned for our life will play out the same way.
Right.
But it doesn't. So life is not going to be easy for anyone. Corporate life works very slow. So the whole idea that, you know, once you get a job, it's, you know, you're set for life.
Hello viewers, this is Professor Guru Prasad. You're watching GIBS IRE Talks podcast powered by GIBS Business School, where we explore some real stories of innovation, resilience, and purpose. Well, I always believe four walls of the classroom cannot teach you entrepreneurship. I don't think anyone has read a book on entrepreneurship and have become a successful entrepreneur. It's all in their experience and practice. So we at GIBS have launched this very niche program, I would say, IRE, which stands for Innovation, Research, and Entrepreneurship, where we tend to execute numerous programs. And one is a podcast where we have hosted numerous successful entrepreneurs who have shared their journeys. And I think that's the best way to tell you about the real life experiences which you can practice. Today, I am all happy to host Ms. Supriya Jain, who's a seasoned brand storyteller, TEDx speaker, and also been a ghostwriter for most influential founders. Let's hear it from her. On behalf of all my viewers, I extend a heartfelt welcome to you. Welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you, Guru. It's nice being here.
Same here. Pleasure is all mine. Before I get into the subject, I ask this question always, how was your upbringing? Can you take the story back to your school days and college days? The reason why I ask this question is at times, there is no relevance to what you are doing right now and what you were back then. So was it the same case with you?
I would say yes. I grew up in a very conservative Marwari household. I was the first person, not even the first woman, to step out of, so I grew up in Jaipur, and I was the first person to get out of the city and actually pursue higher education.
Okay.
Everybody else is like a jeweler. But I was brought up by a single mother, and she prioritized education quite a bit. So even though she worked 2 jobs, so I didn't come from privilege. We lived in a 1-room place. And she always stressed on us this importance of working for what you want to achieve, right? We didn't have any shortcuts. We didn't have, some godfather watching over us. Correct. To say, here, the world is an oyster kind of a thing. So so she distilled that into us, that, education is super, super important. And she did those 2 jobs so we could go to one of the best schools in Jaipur. It's Maharani Gayatri Devi School. And that's why she pushed us. I did my engineering, I did my MBA. And the idea was that I'll get into a corporate job and I will earn my living there for till the time I'm 60, and I'll retire happily with a house and a car. None of that has happened.
Destiny has a different plan.
Yeah, Destiny has a different plan. Somewhere in the middle, there was also this idea that I'll marry a diamond merchant from that side of family.
Why specifically diamond merchant?
Because my nanny side of family is into gems and jewelry. So that's everybody just does that. So the idea was, okay, you can study, but it'll be better if you marry a diamond merchant and have 3-4 children. That didn't happen. That didn't happen either. So yeah, the upbringing was very different. Life today is very different. But I also believe that if I did not have that upbringing, I would not have the foundation that I built all of this on.
The grassroots level foundation is very, very important.
Yeah. So we learned independence from my mom. We learned the importance of financial freedom. We learned the the idea that women just doesn't have to be a person who has to sit at home and take care of the children, because that's everybody else is doing that. So
that was, I'm sure, in that part of the place where you belong to, had that stigma.
So till I grew up, till I left home, my sisters and sister-in-law, they were getting married at 18, 19, and they were covering their heads and they were cooking all day. And me and my sister, I have a younger sister, and we're like, no, we can't do this.
But how did the society accept back then?
So
When
I
you
think
decided to step in, go to school, go to college.
I think one of the advantages we had was that we had a single mother. So we didn't have like a patriarchal push. Like everybody had already given up on us. Ki inka to, like, nothing is going to happen with them because they don't have like a father. And so because there were not many expectations that we'll find a good match or we'll do something in life, people just let us be. And I think that was the biggest advantage that we had, because when they said, okay, like my mom said, you be either an engineer or a doctor, and that time, like, we didn't have much choice. Nobody batted an eyelid. They were like, okay.
The situation is better now, society-wise?
I think yes. Like the children who came after us are definitely better educated. They've gone to universities, global universities.
Okay.
But they still don't work. They get into the
It's
family
still there.
business. Yeah.
Do you visit your village quite often?
Yeah. So I wouldn't call it, it's Jaipur, the capital of Rajasthan, right? But the circumstances that time were very different. Of course, Jaipur now is a very cosmopolitan city.
So
but
you're in the
those,
Jaipur city itself?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I do go back once a year at least. But
they're happy and proud. You're successful now.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
always.
We are very closely connected as a family, also, and especially obviously the new crop who actually understands what I do. When I initially started, people thought I go door to door selling marketing reports because they had no clue what marketing is
all about.
Right? And then it was just easier to let them believe it than explain. But obviously now the new crop is very well educated, very well traveled. So they know what I'm doing. And yeah, it's good.
Take us through your corporate life. How was it? Did that start in Bangalore?
That started in Bangalore.
Yeah.
Actually, it started in Hyderabad. Oh my God, it's so far away that I don't remember. So I did my engineering, did my MBA, and then got a job, very, very middle class kind of, approach that do this, do that, and then get a job. And I got selected in Satyam.
Okay.
I'm sure half of your students probably have not heard of the company.
Yes, they're not.
And after I joined, within 1.5 years, it went down in a spectacular scandal.
I know.
Right? So this whole, the idea...
That was 2009.
Yes. Yeah. So the whole idea that, once you get a job, it's, you're set for life. That just crashed and burned because I was a fresher just into just beginning my career, and the company went down. And that time, if you recall, it was 2007.
It was a big name, huh?
Yeah.
Satyam was a big name.
Big name.
Yeah.
And also it was like a financial crisis happening that time, right?
Global economic crisis,
Yeah.
2009.
So there were no jobs.
Right.
So I still managed to find a job at a 40% hike. And I moved to Bombay after that. Then I got married and moved. So my husband's house was in Bangalore, and we decided that cost of living wise, this is more reasonable. So I had to move to Bangalore.
It's not anymore.
It is obviously when you compare
compared
Bombay,
to Mumbai and other places.
Like the house I live in today, I probably would be paying 5 crores a month in Bombay for that kind of setup. So we moved to Bangalore. And I joined Wipro because I was working in the CEO's office in that company in Bombay. So obviously, if the CEO is in Bombay, you can't really do that work from here. So I joined Wipro, and I worked there for around 4 years. I was heading their thought leadership marketing initiative globally. And it was a fantastic place. Like the career trajectory has been really good. But what I would say, and I would want the listeners of this podcast to also know is, sometimes we figure that whatever we have planned for our life will play out the same way.
Right.
But it doesn't. And if I had not pivoted when circumstances demanded, I probably would not have found the success that I have. Because when I joined Satyam, I joined as a business analyst.
Okay.
A very vague role.
That's an entry level.
Yeah, that's an entry level role after your MBA. And they assigned me to a project. Now, this was a billable project. So they were getting like some $16 an hour for me. There was no work. There was zero work. I would go to office at 12 in the afternoon, eat lunch, come back home. Nothing happening, right? And 6 months of this, I was sick of it. I was like, it's not adding anything to my resume.
Yeah.
I'm not learning anything.
Right.
And because I'm billable, they're not willing to shift me to another project because otherwise they want to clear the bench first, right?
Correct.
So pestered my boss, harassed him, and he's like, there's only one opening, and if you want, I will put you there. I said, okay, what is the opening? He said, it's in the learning and development
L&D.
department. Yeah. And I was like a rookie. I didn't know the revenue centers and the cost centers, and that you are more valued when you are in a billable role versus if you go to a cost center like L&D. So I said, fine, I'll do it. And that time I used to be like super scared of talking to people. Like even in MBA, I would hide behind my team. I'll do the entire presentation, but they will have to
present.
Yeah.
Right.
So L&D also, I said, I'll make the courses. I will not teach people. They said, yes. Like all corporate promises. I moved. 10 days into the new role, they put me in front of 50 people and they said, teach them personal grooming and business etiquette. My knees shook the entire time. But it was like I did it, right? And that was a foundational element of what I am doing today. Like I have a community of 35,000 people that I coach today, which would not have been possible.
You never know when this will turn into a strength of yours.
Yeah. So I was able to pivot from business analyst to L&D. Then when Satyam crashed, I moved into marketing, which was my, like I said, my minor subject, not my major.
Right.
And then when I got married, I was in a risk and insurance broking company, moved back to IT. So I've done all these weird jumps. But I feel that everything that you do teaches you something. And over time, you get where you're meant to be.
You were scared looking at your resume? Weren't you?
Yeah, probably. But also, interestingly, my resume didn't do much for me. And all the jobs that I've ever got have been because I fought with the interviewer. Like the times when I was nice and trying to present myself as a very good employee, they didn't work. And all the instances where I went and fought and said, what do you know? This is how.
Viewers, this is only done by professionals. Don't try this at our capacity.
Yeah. And honestly, I did not know it will work, so don't go by this. But that's just like weird quirk that happened with me.
Now the important question. Yeah. You were doing pretty well in your corporate life. What triggered you to start something of your own?
Okay. So one was inertia. Okay. Corporate life works very slow. It's like, especially in large organizations, like startups.
In a large organization,
yeah.
Yes.
Startups are fine.
Yes.
Okay, because there's some activity happening. Large organizations sit on things. They just like initiatives happen every day. They die somewhere in a corner. Nobody knows what is happening. So you feel a little, what am I doing? Right? Where is the impact? Okay, I made another 20 slider deck, another 100 slider deck, and a 135th version of this slide deck. But what is the point of all that? So after spending 8 years in corporate, I think I reached that point. I said, okay, I have done enough of this, but what's next? Right?
But you were also associated with a big brand like Wipro. I mean, it's a tough call.
It wasn't.
It wasn't?
It was simmering for a while. Okay. So I didn't make a rash decision per se. I wouldn't call it that.
It's a planned decision.
It was, so I rely a lot on my intuition when I make choices. And it's a funny story. I was sitting on a beach in Goa in April of 2015. And
that's not the right time to be in Goa, by the way.
Yeah, and I was there and I was wondering, do I want to go back to work this Monday? And the answer was like, no, I don't want to do this. If you ask me at that point if I knew what I'm going to do, no. But I just knew this is not what I want to do. So I texted my boss from the beach and I said, I'm coming on Monday and I'm putting down my papers. And he's like, what? So that's how my entrepreneurship started. But it also
Thanks to Goa?
thanks to Goa.
Yeah.
But it was also like I was trying to do this project for the past 4 years. I had gotten approved by the CEO of Wipro 4 times.
Did you discuss with your husband on this? What did he say?
He had already quit his job the year before to start his real estate thingy.
Right. I'm sure he supported you then.
Yeah, so when he asked me, can I quit my job? I said, sure. So now that I'm saying I want to quit my job, he can't say no. But our parents they freaked out. They're like, both of you are jobless.
Right.
Both of you are going to do some random thing that we don't know about. How are you going to manage?
Absolutely.
Right? But I think so when you become entrepreneurs, that little bit of craziness has to be there.
Will be there. Yeah. That's a main ingredient for any entrepreneur. Yeah.
So if you don't have that crazy risk taking in some space, it's very difficult to live the life of an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's how. So basically, the trigger was this. One was the inertia, the slow pace of decision making, the idea that I'm not making any difference to anybody's life by making all these decks. And there was a project that I really, really wanted to do, which would have made a difference definitely to Wipro's client base as well. But 4 times I got it approved by the CEO. Okay, but the bureaucracy kept bringing it back in the approval room. The whole cycle. Then I was sick of it. I said,
that's typical corporate how it works.
So I said I would rather do something of my own.
Right.
And I also believe that when you want to do something, now things just fall into place. So when I decided I'll quit, maybe we don't do this I don't know, you can take a call to cut it out. But so when I went back to my job on Monday and I said, I'm putting my papers, my boss said, you can't. I said, what do you mean by I can't? And he's like, because I put in my papers today. I was like, what? What are you even doing? So he said, I don't know, but I don't want to do this anymore. So then I asked him, he asked me, what are you doing? So I said, I don't know, maybe some consulting. So then we're sitting
both were sailing in the same boat.
Yeah. And we're sitting at that water cooler conversation that you have. So we're standing right there at the water cooler and we're talking to each other. And then we look at each other and we're like, maybe we should do this together.
Wow.
So he was great at strategy. I was great at content. And we're like, what are we missing? So we thought we are missing design because that's a big part of how brand campaigns are run. And so my friend was heading brand at Wipro that time. So we walked over to his desk and we said, listen, we are quitting and starting our own agency. You want to join us? So he just looked up and he said, okay. And he quit. And we started our first agency.
That's great, yeah. Now the question is, I have a lot of my friends from Wipro at the top management.
Oh my God.
And I'm sure whenever I share this podcast, they will watch you. Especially on this front.
Oh my God.
Anyways, jokes apart. How was the start to your journey? So as expected?
It was actually better than expected because we didn't go in with much expectation, right? We were, like I said, it was water cooler conversation, one text message at a beach. So there was no plan. But what we did know is that we are amazing at what we do.
But you actually did that? You 3 of your colleagues started off something of your own?
Yeah.
Wow.
The agency still exists. It's called Zen Sciences. I left them in 2018 when my son was born, but they are still continuing with it.
Yeah.
And we were phenomenally successful because we were really, really good at what we did.
Great.
And we had the network. So, and we tapped into a gap in the market. I think that's a very important thing for any entrepreneur to really think about, because if you're not solving a problem, then you're going to find it very difficult, right? So the problem we faced was that we are at the client side. We have all these creative agencies who understand zero aspect of business. Okay, so they'll come up with these fancy campaigns, but they were so disconnected from business that we're like, what are you doing? So we knew that there is a need for an agency which is specific to B2B IT, that understands the industry and is also able to bring in the creative element.
Absolutely.
And that's the bridge that we created.
Right. When was it started?
2015 only.
Okay.
So April, I decided I'm quitting. Right. June, we started the agency. So this then, because we had the network, because we had been in the industry for so long, we knew people, We knew that people had this problem because we were dealing with that problem. So when we reached out to folks and said, hey, we have started the agency, people gave us work.
Red carpet?
Yeah.
Kind of a red carpet.
Yes, kind of. So we never had to advertise ever. We didn't even have a website till the time I quit, right? Till the time 2018. So 3 years after our beginning, we didn't even have a website because we didn't need to. We just like called up people we knew and said, we are doing this. And they're like, okay, come over, have a chat. We would present, we'll get something. Then they would love it. They would refer it to somebody else. Then we get more business.
But I mean, journey was smooth then.
Very smooth. Very smooth. But it had like fun elements to it also. It taught us a lot of interesting stuff. Like, for example, business can come from anywhere. So our first client, so my husband and I also used to have a small restaurant at that point in time. And our first client was this guy who walked into our restaurant. So he was an IIT graduate. He had started this restaurant point of sale system, kind of a startup, and he had got a funding recently for $2 million. And he was going restaurant to restaurant trying to sell his POS, which was a great POS, by the way. So when he came to us, we loved it, and we got talking to him. And I was like, I'll buy your POS, but since you just started, you give us your marketing. So he said, okay. So he... I don't know if you know Opinio. They were a like hyper-logistic kind of company also in between. So we went to their... They also didn't have an office. They were living in a flat, 12 of these IIT guys coding away, building this system. Right. So 3 of us went to their house, literally with beer bottles everywhere and rolled up mattresses. That's where we did a briefing session. Came back, worked on it. The first client presentation we ever made was in my living room on my TV. So we didn't have an office. So the learnings were that you can, find clients anywhere. You don't have to have like perfect systems in place, like a smoky office or, the best tech to really go and get that business.
All in the mindset?
All in the mindset. Yes.
Location is just naam ke vaste, I think I can say. Right.
So even today, like in my new agency, I don't have an office. It's all remote work.
Great.
So
any glitches during 2020 pandemic?
So I don't think, because so like I said, I quit that agency in 2018.
18, okay.
And I was doing my own thing by then. And since I was anyway working remote, 2020 didn't really impact my business much. It was, and IT companies also didn't get affected, right? Contracts were still going. In fact, IT went up because a lot of automation happened, a lot of these remote work thingies happened. So my business honestly was not affected.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. I was having a great interaction with you off the camera as well. You're planning something on to the manufacturing also. I mean, how have you developed this? You are major, if I get into academics, it's finance.
Yeah.
And you're doing, except finance, everything. Am I right in that?
Yeah.
And you're also, a storyteller. You ventured into the writing, the ghostwriting part of it.
Yeah.
How does it come in your head? Do you go to Goa every now and then to get these ideas?
No. But in fact, I did a blog on this yesterday. My sister calls me a dopamine chicken, which means basically I chase after new ideas a lot. Thankfully, I don't go after all of them. But like if you put me, I love to drive because that's the time I think the best. So if I drive like 1.5 hours, 2 hours, I'll come back with something new that we can do. Right?
But that's not good, yeah?
That's not good.
Which means you're not concentrating on the road.
I am. But my brain just works overtime.
Viewers, don't copy this.
Yeah, but so I love to ideate. And like I said, thankfully, I don't follow through on all of those ideas, right? But what that ability helps me do is to spot what's happening in the market, right? Now, if you look at marketing, which has been my bread and butter for like 10 years as an entrepreneur, is at a very pivotal point.
But just stopping here, why did you take marketing as your minor then?
The life I envisioned for myself was that I will join a finance company. Okay. I will sit behind the desk and do the numbers all day, maybe do some options and derivatives and make money.
That would have never suited you.
Who knows? I never got a chance to figure it out. So yeah, that was the idea. What it did give me was a nice appreciation for money. So that's also very important for entrepreneurs, right?
True.
like initially when I started off, this was the idea that, I'll sit behind the desk, code, all of that. When I joined Satyam, it was a very random business analyst situation, nothing happening. Marketing I got into by fluke because when Satyam went down and I had to join this new company, they made me join the CEO's office as a strategic advisor. Okay. Again, like you have all these names that don't really mean much.
Really fancy designations.
Fancy designations. But I don't think anybody with a 1.5 year experience can be a strategic advisor to anyone. Okay. But I was that.
You never know. Maybe you were an exception.
I had a fight with the CEO, so he hired me. But the point was that when I was sitting there and doing nothing, they're like, "Ab kuch to karna hai." So there was a sales head, and they made my dotted line to him, the reporting, and they said, we don't have any marketing presence in India, and Marshall McLennan was a global organization, pretty big. That time they were 12 billion. I'm sure they're much more now. So they said, we don't have any India marketing presence. Why don't you set up the marketing function? So that's how I got it into marketing from a minor to doing that full time. And then when I shifted to Bangalore, finance I had left way behind. So it was more like, okay, let's just try and focus on something that you've been doing and get another opportunity based on that. So that's how Wipro's marketing thing happened. But that's how marketing became my major.
That's great. The crazy mindset that you have, I should ask you this question. What next in the bucket list of Supriya?
So like I was telling you earlier, now I'm getting into manufacturing, which is something that I have never, ever, ever done before. But I feel, so this happened last year, October, when I literally woke up one day and I was like, my business might be dying. And what are the industries that survive in time of crisis? Because I want to build a crisis-proof business. And two answers really stood out. Like, of course, weapons is one, but I'm not getting into that. But so manufacturing and food, because no matter what AI does, people will still need food, right? And manufacturing also, you might have automated factories, but you really need somebody to own those factories. So I said, I want to get into food manufacturing. And again, things just fell into place. Like, I found someone who's my partner now, and she runs a manufacturing business of her own. Her family is into manufacturing. They do furnace manufacturing, alcohol manufacturing, you name it, they manufacture it. So she brings in the domain expertise. I bring in the enthusiasm, the ideas.
Combination.
Yeah.
And the marketing mindset.
We met and suddenly we started meeting people who are doing this a lot. We met a private equity person who's into specifically food and agro private equity. So we've all of these avenues have opened up, right? So it's still in very nascent stages, but hopefully by the end of this year.
Has it gone to the execution stage?
No. So what we want to do, and again, a very important lesson for whoever is listening, is don't build before you have buyers. Okay. So you need to first have people who are willing to buy your product, service, whatever it is, and then go and invest in it. So we are first trading to understand the market, to get those buyers, and supplying from other people who already have these setups. Once you have those buyers who believe in us, then we do our setup and increase our margins, because then we don't have to pay the.
That's a good way. That's a crazy start.
Yeah.
Because you have a ready set of buyers with you, and the business will run. And from there, taking off wouldn't be a problem at all.
Yeah. And I always do this. I always build after somebody has already bought into the product or the service.
That's great.
Not before.
How about work-life balance? How do you manage that?
I think I have a fantastic work-life balance. I work barely 4 hours a day, 4 days a week. I take a lot of vacations.
I had to ask this question because I knew you were into too many things, and this question was quite obvious.
But that's what, so somehow when you get into, if you're able to delegate well,
that's important.
Yes, that's very important.
That's
then
very,
you
very
don't.
Key. And also having right people with you.
Right people with you.
Correct?
Yes.
That also makes a lot of sense.
That makes a lot of difference. And it is difficult to find the right people. But
yes, it is.
I mean, you have to be constantly looking and constantly figuring out who next. Your network also helps. Plus, I also try and work with clients who understand the thought behind, okay, if Supriya is on vacation, she is on vacation. you cannot like reach her then. My marketing business pretty much runs on autopilot now with project managers and people and all of that. So I don't have to
Lovely.
spend too much time on it.
Lovely.
New ideas again, like I think if you do deep work for 4 hours a day, you're set.
New ideas, I know your secret. Take your car and drive, and you get new ideas there.
Yeah. So that is there. And I feel one of the reasons I left corporate, and I know you asked me this question earlier, was also because I value my time over anything else.
Great.
So one of the biggest thing was, do I want to do this grind every day? Like, show up at office at 8 o'clock and leave at 7 o'clock and then do calls at 11 o'clock at night. And the answer is no, I don't want to do this.
Do you have that fixed timetable kind of a thing that you follow?
No, I'm a creature of chaos. I cannot follow a timetable, and that's why I think corporate didn't work out for me.
expected this answer. That's the reason I asked this question.
No, I can't. I don't have a timetable. But what I have is chunks of important activities.
Right.
Like if there is a walk that needs to be done, it has to be done every day. Now it's not that maybe morning, maybe afternoon, maybe evening, I don't know, but it has to be done. And if I want, like, Mondays I take off. So Mondays is like baking with my son or something or the other. So that has to be done. So there are those important activities that are like tabled, and those have to be done, and then everything else can fit in alongside.
Are you a hardcore believer of perfection?
No.
Are you say done is better than perfect?
Done is better than perfect. Yeah. And I think people iterate and learn, okay? There will never be a point when you will reach perfection because you will keep second guessing yourself. And I've noticed this. So like I said, I coach a community of 35,000 people, right? And there are a few who have done well, who've taken the lessons, built their own business, done really well. The others just sit and ruminate on what do I do, what do I do, what do I do? And they never move.
They never move.
If you don't move, you're not building anything.
That's great.
So.
Supriya, there are a lot of viewers, students watching you, not just from GIBS, across India. And by now, they are very sure that they want to be the next Supriya. So some tips and suggestions, the do's and don'ts, basically.
Okay. So I don't have a specific do's and don'ts for you. But one thing I would say, if you're looking at entrepreneurship as something that you want to do, then it's very important to define what is success for yourself. Okay. Because when you become an entrepreneur, there is this tremendous pressure, and you sort of give in to external validation, right? Everybody expects you to build a unicorn. Everybody is checking how much are you billing? Who are your clients? Family is asking, friends are asking. If you go going after VC funding, they are asking. But is that what you want to do is your question that you should be asking. Do you want to build the next unicorn, or do you want to live a very happy and fulfilled life? Because my personal belief is that you get only, give or take, 50 good years on this planet, okay? They're never coming back again. So do you want to live a good life every day, or do you want to chase some random numbers in some random bank account and then say, I have been successful? So it's your choice. You be what clicks for you, but be very, very clear that this is what I'm getting into. So defining your own success is very important.
Wow. Truly, you spoke out from your heart.
Yeah. And I totally believe that.
True.
Because
that is what I made in my opening remarks as well. No classrooms can teach this. No textbooks will teach you all these things. And that's the whole reason why we have an event like this. Why we have people like you who will come and share their stories with us. Incredible. I think, correct me if I'm wrong. While talking to you, if I can tell you your biggest strength, you are absolutely chilled out and relaxed all the time. Is that so?
Yeah, I don't stress too much.
Absolutely. I mean, that is one of the very key point my viewers should learn from you, because that's where you tend to manage your success as well as failure, the ups and downs, basically. Because I'm sure entrepreneurial journey is not as simple as it looks. Right?
I mean, it's not easy, and life itself is not easy.
Absolutely.
It will throw brickbats at you.
Absolutely.
To give you another story, but like, feel free to cut it out. To give you another story, 2015 was an insane year for me. I decided to quit my job, decided to start an agency, decided to have a baby, and my husband passed away the same year. So it was all happening at the same time. And so I quit in June of 2015. That's when we started our IVF treatments for the baby. August 2015, he was gone. So I built my company while dealing with an immense amount of grief. I had my baby while dealing with an immense amount of grief and building a company. So life is not going to be easy for anyone. But it's a question of, so there are a lot of people who say, oh my God, this happened to me, right? I'm the kind of person who's like, okay, what do I do now? So if you have that problem solving mindset, then you can be an entrepreneur.
Happened is happened. You can't undo it.
You can't undo it. There's no way to undo it.
Wow.
So you have to look beyond that and say, what next, right? And that doesn't mean that you're unaffected by events or you're not, you're not destroyed by things that probably have gone. And everybody has challenging stories in their lives, right? But it is just about, okay, I'm still here. What do I do next, right? I have a baby on the way. What do I do next? So this whole thing of continuing to look ahead is very important, especially if you're trying, because like companies crash and burn as well, right? You can start a venture, it may not go anywhere. So if you don't have a strong mindset, it's difficult.
So can I say your second biggest strength is that your willpower?
Okay. I don't know if willpower is a word I'll use for myself. Like you put a chocolate cake in front of me, I have zero willpower. But I would say it's just I'm very pragmatic.
Yeah.
Like I look at things not in a victimhood way or disaster way, but more like what is the opportunity and okay, this is what we're dealt with, and how do we make the best of it, right? So I think that I would say is
sorry to hear the story, but then we are very proud for what you have achieved, and our best wishes.
Thank you.
Always with you, and I look forward for a long-lasting association with you.
Sure.
Right?
Same here.
And I think my viewers also had great takeaways from the whole session. This is the beauty of such interactions. You tend to learn something that is really, really catchy, and I want you all to imbibe that and move on. On behalf of all my viewers, I thank Supriya for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was such a pleasure hosting you.
Thank you.
Right. For those who haven't subscribed yet, please like us in all our social media platforms, GIBS Business School, GIBS IRE Talk. Please follow her as well in the social media platforms. You tend to learn a lot. For now, this is Guru Prasad signing off. Thank you for watching.